Hello there, welcome to another episode of Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV. My name is Michael Ogodu and thank you for tuning in as I bring you highlights from the world of business over the next 60 minutes. If you're ready, let's go. Things seem to be picking up on government's effort at securing an IMF deal, and happenings this week seem to point to that. The finance minister was in China earlier in the week to strike a deal on our debts, and per his Twitter post, it seems we have made some progress. Ghana's finance minister, Counterfeit, has had positive and encouraging meetings with Chinese officials in Beijing regarding the restructuring of the country's debt. A tweet on the official Twitter page of the finance minister on Friday said government is looking forward to securing external assurances very soon, even as it passes the outstanding domestic revenue bills in Parliament. China, one of the country's biggest bilateral creditors, has expressed a desire to seek a proper resolution to the debt issue. The country has secured a staff-level agreement with the IMF for a $3 billion loan and securing financing assurances from lenders as a condition for an IMF board approval. Ghana has already restructured its domestic debt and is requesting to rework its bilateral debt under the G20-supported Common Framework Platform. Meanwhile, the IMF is calling on Ghana's bilateral creditors to support the country attain debt sustainability as part of requirements to secure a program with the fund. Julie Kuzak is the Director of Communications at the International Monetary Fund, and she spoke during a press briefing.
On December 12, 2022, the IMF reached a staff-level agreement with Ghana on a three-year program supported by an arrangement under the ECF. This program was worth about $3 billion. Ghana also requested a debt treatment under the G20 Common Framework. Financing assurances from partners and creditors are necessary for presenting the program request to the IMF's Executive Board for approval. We continue to engage closely with the Ghanaian authorities while they seek these assurances. And we're calling on bilateral creditors to support Ghana's effort to restore debt sustainability, form an official creditor committee, and deliver the necessary financing assurances as soon as possible. The IMF program aims to support Ghana's efforts to restore macroeconomic stability, debt sustainability, while also protecting the vulnerable, preserving financial stability, and laying the foundation for strong and inclusive growth.
These are desperate times and they may require risky solutions, but there is still a need to be measured in our attempts to get the economy back on track. The Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abena Amwa, believes the government ought to refrain from borrowing at high rates for the servicing of the country's debt post-IMF. She says this is crucial in the government's quest to build investor trust and confidence.
Ghana has been facing multiple economic challenges. This has led to the government requesting for a $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to help it restore macroeconomic stability. The IMF assistance, which is yet to be finalized, is conditioned on Ghana restructuring its debt, both domestic and external. This also means that the government must put in place measures to bring public debt down to more manageable levels from the currently estimated 105% of GDP to 55% in present value terms by 2028. Already, the government embarked on the domestic debt exchange program, which closed on Friday, 10th February 2023, with over 80% participation of eligible bonds. Speaking at Graphic Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting in Accra, the managing director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abena Amwa, called on the government to refrain from borrowing at high rates for servicing of the country's debt post-IMF.
I say DDEP is a silver lining we must grab with both hands and fly with it. Distinguished guests, a few other lessons from DDEP for me. Transparency and accountability. It is critical that if we are going to rebuild trust and confidence in our economy, governments, private institutions, To the large extent, the individual, the taxpayer, we must conduct ourselves in a transparent and accountable manner to build trust with other stakeholders. Fiscal discipline. This is necessary for sustainable economic growth. Governments must prioritize economic and social investments and must avoid using expensive debts to pay emoluments and service more debts. And the emoluments goes to 700,000 public servants. And today we spend more than 40% of revenues paying emoluments and the rest paying public debts. We need to spend where it matters most.
On his part, the convener of the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Ananeunju, questioned the failure of state regulators for failing to protect the interest of investors.
If you don't protect investors, you won't get any confidence in the market. When this DDEP issue came, I did not see any regulator performing an investor protection role. The government is an issuer of securities, and people who are holding government securities must be protected. The fact that government securities will not go through regulations for approval before issuance does not mean people who are holding that document should not be protected. How come investors were told that I will not give you any interest whatsoever for 1 year? And regulators thought that they have no role to protect that investor. Regulators must protect investors. Look at what is happening at the other side of financial services, the savings and loans and the financial houses. For some 3 years, people cannot assess their investment with some of these institutions. And the Bank of Ghana is looking at it.
Do you know that pension fund managers currently allocate over 90% of their assets to government securities? The Chief Executive Officer of the Access Pension Trust Limited is rather concerned that this situation crowds out the private sector. Stakeholders in the pensions fund space are therefore pushing for an efficient way of distributing funds in the country to ensure economic growth.
Ghana's current economic challenges led to government requesting for a $3 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund to help it restore macroeconomic stability. As part of the process, government embarked on a domestic debt exchange program which closed on Friday 10th February 2023 with over 80% participation of eligible bonds. Despite acknowledging the program's importance, many stakeholders within the pension space have expressed concerns over the impact of government's debt operations on the industry. This is because a number of pension funds are facing liquidity challenges. As a result, stakeholders at the 5th edition of the Pension Strategy Conference are pushing for an efficient way of distributing funds in the country to ensure economic growth. Efri Yowar is the CEO of Access Pension Trust Limited, and he believes pension fund managers must rethink how they allocate assets to avoid crowding out the private sector.
If you look at developed countries, the driver of their success is private sector investing. In the US, pension funds allocate just 18% of their assets to government securities. In the UK, it's about 41%. In Netherlands, it's about 43%. If you just suppose that against what we have in Ghana, we have 94% of our pension fund assets sitting with government. So the question is, which of the economic agents is driving growth? Is it government? Is government more productive? Because our role is to allocate capital to the most productive agents of the economy. So if you look at government expenditure over the years, it appears even capital expenditure, which is supposed to be the growth generating investments of government, is only taking up 16%. In the past, I think it was actually 9%. Of government budget. So it is not efficient for us to continue to give money to government just for expenditure. It's like investing in a company that is not generating any profit. All they do is, spending on profligacy and not really investing to drive the growth of the business. I think our attitude as money managers in the past in shying away from the private sector has resulted in the situation we have today.
A look at the 2023 Outlook survey by Axis Pensions Trust also reveals that pension funds are looking at investing at the real sector as the current economic situation is pushing investors to seek diversification away from government securities. According to market analysts, this is a positive step towards addressing the structural weaknesses within the Ghanaian economy. On the back of a limited investment alternative due to the current economic climate, these analysts are of the view that investors could consider real estate investments and exposure to agriculture and energy-focused private equity funds as alternative investments, as well as commodities such as gold and other precious metals, infrastructure, and cryptocurrencies.
We focus now on the manufacturing sector as stakeholders in the space and members of the business community are calling on the government to tackle the influx of counterfeit electric products on the Ghanaian market. According to them, the sale and the use of such appliances impede the development of the sector and create huge financial losses for investors.
Ghana is fast becoming a haven for the marketing of counterfeit electrical products, with the business thriving on the blind side of law enforcement agencies and regulators. The situation has been largely attributed to the importation of these products via unapproved routes and the compromised system by some key elements, especially at the borders and ports. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, many of the electrical products on the Ghanaian market, including bulbs, cables and home appliances, are substandard. Speaking at a stakeholders engagement in Accra with members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Govt, the managing director of Nixan Sub-Saharan Africa, Eunice A. Lalim, called for urgent measures to intensify the sensitization of the local market and also stiffer actions to be taken against dealers in counterfeit electrical products.
Strong market surveillance system, and thanks to this market surveillance system we will make sure that the products that are sold on the market are complied with the standard. It should be based on gathering samples from the market in a random way and to test them regularly to make sure of the continuous quality of the products that are consumed locally. At our level, what we are doing first is that we are making sure that our products are 100% compliant with the standard. Second, we are investing on the awareness. We are trying at any time we meet our customers, direct and indirect customers, to make them aware of the danger, of the risk that they take when they use substandard cables. And also, what we can do is that we can work with all the stakeholders in the country to build the adequate system to fight against this virus, this poison that we have in our industry.
The national president of Govt, Dr. Joseph Abin, also said his outfit is fully supportive of local manufacturers and called on all to patronize made in Ghana goods and products.
We live in Ghana, we believe that we have the resources, but there should be a conscious effort from the government itself that we do these things deliberately. If we want to support our country to be self-sufficient, it means that we'll be prepared. The greater responsibility lies on government and its preparedness to earmark some resources to push this agenda. Then also not thinking that we have to increase productivity and then you raise taxes. It's counterproductive. The nuisance taxes, as it was cleared, as was taken out from the table in 2017, are all creeping back in folds, and it's not helping businesses. And so if we want to go, the way to go is for government's own effort. The greater responsibility lies on government, our own effort, our own initiative, that this is the way to go. We want to enhance our local productivity. This is our resources, and that this is the policy that we've made, that will reduce the tax burden on this so that they can become relevant in the scheme of affairs of the continental free trade area and immediate neighbors in the cross-border trading activities that we do.
If you own the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, please go and clear your debt if you want to continue enjoying the utility. ECG is on a massive debt collection exercise, and you get to know some of the institutions that have been impacted, including Parliament. You wouldn't want to fall victim.
The Electricity Company of Ghana embarking on a nationwide revenue mobilization exercise, and the exercise actually commenced on Monday, March 20, 2023. We visited a number of institutions, including the Parliament House of Ghana, the Airport Company Limited, and the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Many of these institutions were on the list of the power distributor last year. When I was part of them on that particular exercise, they proceeded to disconnect even some of them before they made partial payments, and they were reconnected. The exercise has commenced again this year, almost ending the first quarter, where the power distributor says it's going to recover about 5 billion Ghana cedis from its customers. We have the Airport Company Limited owing 28 million Ghana cedis. When we visited that particular company, they indicated that they're going to make partial payment of 10 million cedis out of that, and there's going to be an outstanding amount of 18 million. Parliament House owes the power distributor 13 million Ghana cedis, and they've since made about 8 million cedis out of that, remaining 5 million owed to the power distributor. GBC, which is the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, owes 5 million Ghana cedis. B Plus Company Limited owing 42 million Ghana cedis. Legon, which is the University of Ghana, owing 31 million Ghana cedis. UPSA, which is IPS, owes 884,000 Ghana cedis. Fabri Metal owes 27 million Ghana cedis, and Ferro Fabrics owes 15 million Ghana cedis.
The National Task Force is the one that is in charge of our state-owned enterprises, the ministries, departments, and agencies under the ministry. And so we have been going with them today. We visited Parliament House. They were owing about 13 million. They've committed to paying 8 million by close of the 8.5 million Ghana cedis. We saw evidence of that. And then we went to the Ghana Airports Company. They owed an arrears of 28 million Ghana cedis, of which they made 10 million Ghana cedis payment instant just when we got them. So we're giving them 48 hours to make the full payment. And now we're here at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. They also owe in arrears about 6 million Ghana cedis. And so they have explained to us that because of the way they run their operations, they wouldn't be able to cough out the money for us instantly.
Fabri Metal Company Limited, a steel producing company here in Ghana, located opposite the Saglemi Affordable Housing Unit on the Aplawu stretch, is the first victim of Electricity Company of Ghana's disconnection exercise, an exercise aimed at recouping the amount of money they owe the Electricity Company of Ghana, 28 million Ghana cedis for that matter. After talks with management, they couldn't really agree or come to any meaningful consensus. Therefore, the task force proceeded to take them off the national grid, and they will now have to rely on an external power source to power their operations. Leila Abubakari is the manager of external communications.
We have taken off Fabri Metal for their inability to pay any amount towards the 28 million they owe ECG. We were hoping to reach some sort of agreement, but they haven't been able to provide anything at all. They don't need to make the money today to pay us. They've already consumed the power, they have produced, they have exported, whatever it is that they use the energy for their business. They've already done that. Like I said, it's 6 months. And so you can't tell me that in the 6 months you did not budget for a raw material like energy. They have transported their products to wherever. As you can see, business was going on. So I told them that with regards to what we are doing this month, we also have a lot of fire behind our backs. If you owe us this amount of money and you are not able to make any payment at all as we are before you to negotiate, you're still consuming power and you're manufacturing, whilst we are owing those who are generating power for us. It doesn't add up in our books. And so what we can do is we terminate the power, and then we can discuss the debt.
The task force went to the B5 Company Limited, where after engagement, they managed to pay about 20 million Ghana cedis out of 42 million cedis they owe the power distributor.
So we are now at B5. They are steel company, steel manufacturing company, one of the largest in West Africa. They had a bill of 48 million Ghana cedis, which had compiled over 4 months. The instruction from head office was to take at least 20 million Ghana cedis as at yesterday. We realized that some of the checks were post-dated, and so we couldn't accept them. So we've just reached a conclusion with them this morning. They've paid 20 million.
Ghana's population continues to grow, but the country's unemployment situation appears to be getting worse. An economist who's a former board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Stephen Adai, is predicting that the situation will be more intense in the future. Hence, stakeholders must put a premium on growing student entrepreneurs to help address the issue.
The government has currently frozen public sector employment in the midst of the growing unemployment situation in the country. An economist, Professor Stephen Adai, says Ghanaians will need a change of orientation where students will be enlightened on the need to create jobs for themselves and not rely mainly on the government for jobs.
At the moment, with the population explosion, and even before government froze the jobs, people don't know that the public sector in Ghana, including teachers, nurses, public civil servants, public service institutions, all are less than 800,000 Ghanaians. So actually, the government has never been the major employer of Ghanaians. Ghanaians employ themselves. And the way forward for the future is going to be even more intense. You don't go to university and then finish and look for a job, because you either have to create a job yourself or someone else has to create it and employ you. And there's a need for a quantum change in our thinking. I saw this a long time ago. In fact, 10 years ago, I wrote a small book called, Investment, Self-Employment and Investment Ideas for Every Ghanaian. And that is the book. And at that time, things were not as hard as today, but I knew a time was coming whereby every young person must be thinking about how to employ themselves or get together or join in the private sector. And the earlier we start it, and that's where the student entrepreneurship comes in, it's a matter of education, orientation.
He's thus stressing the need to build the skills of the young people on how to excel as entrepreneurs.
And the second is to build their skills, because we say in Tree, you don't become an entrepreneur by waking up. You must have the knowledge how to identify investment opportunities, how to raise capital, because people, when you are starting, no bank will lend you money. You go to the bank and say that, I want to start a business. Well, a few may risk it, but not many. So how do you start? And that's what we are here, to encourage young people to change their mind, to tell them to take the necessary risks that are necessary, because there's no worse risk than sitting home doing nothing. To be honest with you, people don't sit down and verify the fact. Every small entrepreneur who registers your business, first 5 years, there's no tax. I have a small business. I started some broke making one, and for 5 years they haven't taxed me. Why? Because I'm entitled to tax holiday. So yes, there are so many things, except that there's a need for education. For some people, if you don't register, then people come to the market and they say that, pay the tax and other things. You can show that I'm a registered company. By this law, I'm tax exempt.
For Dr. Samuel Adanuvo, the Chief Executive Officer of Outbrooks Technology Limited, who organized the Signature Market Project at KNUST, and the President of the Political Studies Students Association, Prince Dumenyo, they want students to take risks and set up businesses to create more opportunities for themselves.
What we would want students to learn and understand is that it is not that far-fetched to reach greatness. It's not that out of place to be able to make impact, and that if others have done it, you can do it as well. Okay, it just takes a lot of discipline and hard work to be able to bear down and really, reach out to people with your ideas. It takes a lot of courage and boldness and elimination of fear, actually, to be able to get to that point where you decide that no matter what, you are still going to take the risk. Like Prof said, you are still going to take the risk. Taking risks is the new normal.
You see, the problem has been that once you are reading political studies, you are definitely going to become a member of parliament, or you are going into the political arena. But that is not the fact. You can read political studies and at the end of the day become one of the biggest businessmen that we have today. So we are bringing this thing closer to our doorsteps to train our students that irrespective of the program you are reading, you can be oriented business-wise and become a business person after your program, because after first degree, you can choose to do whatever you want to do if that is your passion or that is what you want to go into in the near future.
Now to some bilateral trade news, and the Secretary General of the Palermo Municipality Chamber of Commerce has indicated that the chamber plans to increase its trade with Ghana following the European Union-funded Twin Cities in Sustainable Partnership Program between Sekondi Takoradi and Palermo Municipality of Italy. Italy imports a lot of its goods from Ghana, but hopes to expand its trade with us.
Italy is currently Ghana's 13th biggest importer when it comes to goods from the African continent. But the chamber over here in Italy is currently seeking to actually increase the trade with the Ghanaian Chamber of Commerce. And this very port, the Palermo city in the southern part of Italy, is actually going to be the key port where the trade is expected to actually be pivoted.
With the port undergoing expansion just like the Takoradi port in Ghana, the city is looking to increase its trade and seeking opportunities elsewhere. It is in line with this that the European Union-funded Twin Cities in Sustainable Partnership Program has brought Sekondi Takoradi and Palermo Municipality together to promote the exchange of good practices in sustainable and inclusive urban governance. While welcoming a delegation from the Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly led by the Mayor, Abdul Mumin Issa, the Secretary General of the Palermo Chamber of Commerce said they are optimistic trade can be done between the two cities, especially in solar technology investment.
This meet was a very first meet about many potential deals with Ghana enterprises, and I like to say that we have to make more meet with enterprise and to increase all the system export import Italy Ghana. I think there are many ways to do this. There are very opportunity in agriculture. And I think that there are very opportunity in technical change, and I think very important way is the solar energy.
On his part, the Chief Executive Officer of the Sekondi Takoradi Chamber of Commerce and Industry, while hopeful of the positives to come from the new relationship, said his office is creating the right avenues for investment.
As a chamber, we're putting up an MOU with the Palermo Chamber, and what the objective is to really put the two businesses together, starting with an international trade fair here in Palermo later this year, where Ghanaian businesses, Sekondi Takoradi businesses in specific, will be brought here with their product to exhibit, from traditional products that are now gaining international attention through food processing, all the new forms of processed food that have emerged will all join us to come over, including processed wood, different types of processed wood. You know, Western region is the hub of the wood industry in Ghana. Now we no longer export round logs. We do processed wood, and most companies in Sekondi Takoradi are going to join us in this exhibition, and that is aimed at boosting the trade between Sekondi Takoradi through our port basically, and Palermo through their port, which is just here.
The president of the Ghana-Sicily Business Forum, who coordinated the visit, explained the potential benefits of the project to the two cities.
It's a long-term project, so having strong roots, also involving the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, is very, very important. The town offers different sectors, different area of collaboration. I'm sure that with the vibrant community in Sekondi Takoradi, it would be possible to have very good business for the main interest of the communities.
Secretary General of the Port of Palermo, Luca Lupi, who also received the Sekondi Takoradi delegation after a short meeting, took the delegation around the facility. The delegation also visited the ongoing expansion site at the port to accommodate tourist and leisure terminals. Luca Lupi said the port is ready to go into special arrangement with the city of Sekondi Takoradi to improve trade.
We had the pleasure of hosting such an interesting delegation where we analyzed together some opportunities for cooperation. We see many opportunities in this field because I think that business that we can develop together, so we will see in the coming months to establish a kind of relationship in order to see how can we proceed in this way. But I'm really confident that there will be plenty of opportunities to cooperate together.
The mayor of Sekondi Takoradi, Abdul Mumin Issa, noted that the tour has opened opportunities for collaboration with the port of Palermo.
There are a lot of potentials when it comes to maritime operations in Sekondi Takoradi, especially with the newly expanded port, which has a draft of about 16 meters. This is big enough to accommodate, it's deep enough to accommodate larger vessels, cruise ships such as this, and cargo and bulk vessels. And I believe this trip has given us an eye-opener as to where we can collaborate with the port of Palermo and to do business together. And like the managers also said, they are also interested in having business operation outside their jurisdiction. And I believe Takoradi stands tall when it comes to areas of maritime operation.
Citi TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
To more bilateral related stories, because the South African High Commissioner to Ghana is urging businesses in Ghana and South Africa to leverage on the African Continental Free Trade Area to enhance their economic relations. She explains that although the trade volumes between the two countries is about $6 million, it can be multiplied if both partners tap into the full potential presented by the AFCFTA.
The bilateral relations between Ghana and South Africa spans over decades. With over 200 South African companies registered in Ghana, the trade volume between the two countries is about $6 million. Speaking on the sidelines of a brief networking ceremony to commemorate South Africa's Human Rights Day in Accra, Her Excellency Grace Mason urged both countries to maximize the opportunity offered by the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Well, the trade volumes between South Africa and Ghana is already in excess of $5 to $6 billion annually. We can do more and we will do more. And the Continental Free Trade Area is a catalyst for us to begin to trade more and to create value change. So in all sectors, Ghana will find what they have as a niche in this industries and economies, and South Africa will also have our niche as we then begin to collaborate and begin to trade. We are already trading, and as you look, we've got over 200 South African companies that are all over, from our mining sectors right up until services, our banking sectors, and we are bringing in more, and more investment will come in terms of infrastructure development, more trade, more services. So we are going to use, and precisely the reason why we do it on the backdrop of the African Continental Free Trade Area, because that's a platform.
She also expressed optimism of the coming into force of the AFTA protocol, which will empower women in the trade sector.
If you listen, the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area has been giving out pronouncements and feedback from the meetings of the leaders in the ordinary session of the African Union, and in that are also the reports and progress made to date. I particularly is looking forward to the protocol that we envisage to sign in July of 2023, which is a protocol on women and youth in trade. So I look forward to that, because that would be a significant protocol that would also assist and boost trade amongst our African youth, because we've got a large demographic on this continent that are youth and women in particular.
Let's now turn to the agricultural sector and to some great developments for cocoa farmers. The Ghana Cocoa Board has begun enrolling these farmers in some districts of the Ashanti region onto the Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme. According to Cocoa Board, the exercise forms part of a broader strategy to ensure cocoa farmers across the country have access to pensions.
Cocoa Board embarked on a 3-week pilot phase of the scheme at New Edubiase in the Ashanti region after it was officially launched by President Akufo-Addo in 2020. The pilot exercise was to allow officials to educate and sensitize cocoa farmers on the scheme and train LBC staff in the use of mobile phones to conduct cocoa purchase transactions in the cocoa management system. Cocoa Board says the exercise has been of immense help and has thus moved to implement the scheme.
And also begin expanded sensitization and publicity on the scheme. The exercise forms part of a broader strategy to incrementally enroll cocoa farmers in the country onto the scheme. Cocoa farmers in Dwaso, New Edubiase, Antua Krom, Bekwai, Obuase, Ninahini, and Tepa, who have been registered under the CMS and given cocoa cards, are being enrolled at designated centers. We have therefore employed 260 enumerators, CMS enumerators, to visit cocoa communities, and we encourage farmers to get enrolled and contribute towards their pension. As the slogan of the scheme goes, Ejumafoji pensioner Okwanisu Bejibi. Let me repeat that. The slogan is Ejumafo je pensioner okuaniso bejibi. Government and private sector workers contribute towards their retirement during their working life, and we expect our farmers to also contribute in order to enjoy a comfortable retirement. This is the essence of the Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme.
Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme, Daniel Edu Mensah, gave further highlights of the scheme's implementation when he spoke to journalists in Kumasi.
The Ashanti and Western South Cocoa regions have been selected for this phase, which is the phase 1. Altogether, some 15 cocoa districts where data captured by the CMS have been declared clean or deemed comprehensive are involved. There are also plans to scale up the exercise to cover the remaining 55 cocoa districts in the country. So there are 70 cocoa districts, and we are starting with 15. It is important to remind ourselves of the following. The enrollment process is free of charge. Farmers will not be asked to pay any amount. Farmers are to go to the enrollment centers with their cocoa cards and also the correct names of persons they would like to nominate as beneficiaries.
A farmer who signs on to the scheme at age 50 or below is eligible to retire and receive pension benefits at age 55. A farmer who, however, signs on to the scheme after attaining 50 years become eligible to retire after contributing for 5 years, regardless of the age of entry.
AngloGold Ashanti, Duaprem and Goldfields Takwa Mines are making efforts towards a joint venture which will make the company the largest gold mine in Africa. The merger, if successful, is expected to significantly cut down on the cost of production. However, managers of both companies have assured that it will not result in job losses.
Plans of a proposed joint venture of AngloGold Ashanti Iduaprem and Goldfields Takwa Mines was recently announced by the two mining companies. The proposed merger is expected to improve life of the mine, ensure business efficiency and operational synergy through combining respective ore bodies and infrastructure for the benefit of shareholders and stakeholders. It will also make the new company, which will be named Goldfields Ghana Limited, the largest mining company in Africa. Once the requisite approvals are through, the government will have a stake of 10%, Goldfields will have 60% stakes, and AngloGold will have 30%. The Executive Vice President and Head of Goldfields West Africa, Joshua Mototi, said the joint venture will maximize production for both entities.
We're extremely excited about the opportunity to create a mining entity with the potential to become the largest gold mine in Africa, delivering safe, sustainable, and profitable production over the long term. We will do this by leveraging the operating efficiency advantage at Takwa due to its scale to unlock higher gold rates at Iduaprem and maximizing production across both processing plants. Goldfields and AngloGold Ashanti share a long history. Indeed, most of us have worked for each other, including myself, in Ghana, and are committed to working collaboratively to operate a world-class gold mine. This creates a platform to develop the substantial mineral endowment at Takwa and Iduaprem. The proposed joint venture will be a high-quality asset that will offer sustainable returns over an estimated life of at least 18 years. This means we're looking at estimated average production on a 100% basis of approximately 900,000 ounces per annum over the first 5 years and in excess of 600,000 ounces per annum over the estimated life of the operation. It is proposed that once the requisite approvals are received, the government of Ghana will have a stake of 10% in the joint venture. Goldfields will have 60% and Anglo Gold will have 30%. The proposed joint venture is subject to the conclusion of due diligence and definitive transaction agreements and the requisite regulatory approvals.
On his part, the managing director of AngloGold Ashanti Gold Mines, Eric Isubontin, indicated that the proposed joint venture will not result in massive job losses.
What we are focusing on to unlock value is not about cutting jobs. It's about unlocking value by bringing two ore bodies together, leveraging of the efficiencies and grades and flexibility in planning and so on that you get from each of those operations coming together. It's not about job cuts. We've already said that this joint venture is not going to have any major impact on employment. There could be a relatively small impact on some jobs, and it could be a change of job, not necessarily losing your job. But even in those situations, we'll work through it together, the two HR teams, on a combined structure, and those that will be impacted, we will look at opportunities to redeploy them in other areas. It's only after that if we can't find a redeployment opportunity that we talk about compensation, and we'll do it the right way, underpinned by our values, driven by law, and our collective agreements, and most importantly, being transparent and open to employees as we do so.
The Institute for Energy Security, IES, wants the government to take a critical look at its open door policy in the exploitation of natural resources in Ghana. According to the IES, this denies indigenous companies their development and royalties. Here's why.
According to the Director of Research for the Institute of Energy Security, Edmond Combat, government must revise its note on the narrative where it gives foreign companies an open door policy in mining natural resources in Ghana. According to the group, who were engaged in a district stakeholder meeting with traditional authorities and other stakeholders in Mankasim on the exploration of lithium, Edmond Combat noted that the open door policy has denied several millions of people the needed development since foreign institutions who are given the mandate don't live up to the task. The Institute believes there is the need for value addition to ensure that the lithium that has been discovered in Mankasim is not exported in its raw form but packaged as a finished product to benefit both parties. The Institute says their worry is to prevent a similar situation in the oil wealth where the necessary measures were not put in place, making it elusive.
Most of our natural resources are always exported in raw forms. So the kind of benefit that it is supposed to have been engendered for the benefit of the people, we don't see that kind of benefit. And we thought that having seen that the energy systems is moving away from fossil fuel to green energy, lithium is going to play a critical role in that conundrum. And we are so blessed to be one of the countries that have gotten lithium in large commercial quantities. So we thought that it's important, after doing our research, visiting the communities, we thought that it was important to share some of our findings with the municipal, to be able to get feedback from the assembly, the chiefs, and the various stakeholders in this community to further inform the national dialogue to ensure that this lithium that is gotten doesn't become a curse. It doesn't become like all other minerals where we have gotten in the past. But this actually is properly exploited, properly used for the benefit of the people. Because when value addition comes, what happens is that usually if you have a raw material, the benefit you get from it is very small. Sometimes it's like 5%. But if you add value, you can get sometimes 500% benefit of that. It creates jobs. There is knowledge transfer because it's locally manufactured.
Paramount Queen Mother of Anomabo, Nana Mroba Dabo I, warns traditional leaders whose mandate it is to make sure their people get the best of everything, not to put their interests first, but rather that of the populace.
As a traditional leader, our duty is to see to it that the community are happy. Because most of our people don't have the knowledge of mining, we are all thinking about money, money, money. So when the companies, those who have no license come, they just go to the communities without even seeing the opinion leaders or the chief. And then they just give them peanuts. And then they go and destroy their farms and their environment, sometimes even their buildings, their health and everything. Then at the end of the day, we are the people who has to be blamed. Okay? But if they come and let us know, or we do a stakeholders engagement, then the education will go on, done well, and then also the environmental, the health, even the security, and all these people will come in, the assembly members and all those people will be involved. Then the understanding will be there, and then we can all work as a team. So for us, it is our duty or our job to save our community members or our people.
Ghana has made some progress with its domestic tourism over the years, but the Ghana Tourism Authority wants to take it a notch higher. The authority is confident it will achieve its target of 1 million domestic tourist visits for the year. Last year's data revealed that there were nearly 800,000 visits across the various tourist sites in the country. Despite this, the authority believes it can reach its goal with the implementation of programs it is currently rolling out.
According to records obtained from the Ghana Tourism Authority, the Central Region received the highest number of domestic tourist visits in the country in 2022, with over 240,000 visits. Following closely was the Eastern Region, with about 188,000 visits, and the Ashanti Region with more than 152,000 visits. The Ebri Botanical Garden ranked first with over 150,000 visits, while the Kakum National Park's Canopy Walk and the Kumasi Zoo followed consecutively with about 113,000 visits. The total tourism revenue generated from these tourist sites arrivals is estimated to be over 5 million Ghana cedis.
I think the progress has come about as a result of a conscious effort to promote domestic tourism. We started the Experience Ghana, Share Ghana campaign. We've been promoting our See Ghana, Eat Ghana, Wear Ghana. We've been partnering with organizations like Citi on the Heritage Caravan. Other media houses have also done their own. And so the combination of all that is what we are seeing in their growth. But getting the numbers initially is not as difficult, because when you do a promotion, people respond. We did a promotion that Experience Ghana, Share Ghana, go to a tourist site, put your pictures out there on social media and win something. Ghanaians will respond. Now the difficulty is sustaining it, and that is where we are on now. How do we build it as a culture? So we are working with the Ghana Education Service on setting up tourist clubs in schools, so that from childhood, people already know that they have to travel around. And so I think the effort is there, the commitment is there. We have regional directors who have been given that mandate to also set up these tourist clubs.
The Ghana Tourism Authority aims to increase the 2022 figure by 25% through the various programs it is implementing.
Last year, our target was around 600. We've done 900. So it stretches us a bit, but we want to go to the 1 million mark for domestic tourism. Make it like a 1 million every year. At least if we are hovering around 1 million every year, it's good numbers. I mean, if 180,000 people are visiting a tourist site, the fees that they charge, because it's set by Parliament. For example, if you go to the museum, it's like for Ghanaians, 2 cedis, 3 cedis. So the museum itself is not making a lot of money, but the value chain, as I put it. So if you go there, the coconut seller who is standing there always constantly waiting for you to come out, sweating, and then selling you the coconut, he's making money. The vehicle that you use from Accra or Cape Coast to Kumasi to Takoradi to Cape Coast, they will make some money. As you go there, there are shops there in the museum, they will make some money. You probably will feel hungry after spending 2-3 hours in the museum. When you come out, there are food vendors all over. So that value chain for me is more important than how much the museum itself is making.
Well, our time is up for today's edition of the Business Weekly Show here on Citi TV, your most watched business show in the country. For more business stories, please visit our website, citibusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Catch you same time next week. Please let's connect on Twitter at @mobodu. Stay safe, stay informed. Bye-bye.